Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 or Bust. It's been forever since I made a video, thanks to COVID and then pneumonia, but nonetheless, I'm on the mend, so I'm going to make a video for you. That just goes to show my dedication. But anyway, let's talk about the gun that you see in front of you here. And for those of you who have seen the original video, the PX4 Storm Compact Carry, this is kind of a follow-up that has been long awaited on my part. I actually got a chance to finally shoot this gun. And, it's kind of my first time out of the house, so to speak, in quite a while. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat, my shooting experience was absolutely god-awful. Having some issues with my hand strength still, just absolutely sucked. But with that said, it is not the gun's fault. It is my fault because I just absolutely blew. So let's talk about this gun. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of look at it from top to bottom and go through the things that I found that are really great about this gun. And then maybe a couple of things that I'm like, maybe not so much. But the first thing I want to do is I want to clarify a couple of things about this compact carry versus the LTT version of this firearm. This is a compact carry, but it has not been tweaked with all the goodies from Langdon Tactical. And basically what that means is that when you buy this handgun, it is an expensive handgun. It's not going to be cheap, but you're going to get your Cerakote slide. You're going to get your low profile G model decocker. You're going to get the competition trigger group in here, the night sights, and that's about it. Now, obviously, if you go through Langdon Tactical and they do the trigger job for you, you're going to get all the NP3 coatings. You're going to get the trigger bar from Langdon Tactical, whereas this is just a regular Beretta trigger bar that's in here right now. You can get the spurless hammer. So basically, it kind of ups the ante, so to speak, on this firearm. So I am actually going to be ordering a trigger bar for this just to kind of improve it just a little bit more. But overall, right now, as it stands out of the box, this is a fantastic firearm. Now, let's talk about the things that I think are good from top to bottom. The sight picture on this is very good. You've got that bright Ameriglow front and then the blacked out rears. You got the squared front, so basically just kind of putting it up to the tips of the back here. One of the things that I noticed is that this is absolutely combat hold. You just basically put this on where you want it to go, and that's where it's going to go. It took me a little bit to learn that, but ultimately I did get that. And once you get it, it's a great, accurate firearm. Although I was completely off today, like I've said about 17 times already, because I was disappointed, to be honest with you. So the sight picture is very good. It's definitely an upgrade from the, standard sights that come with the regular compact, and I would highly recommend getting them. Ameriglow makes good stuff. You guys know that. The finish on it is actually pretty good. I am glad they did the Cerakote on here. This has 300 rounds through it right now. And one of the things I would say is that it looks pretty good still. I mean, there's a little bit of wear already, which is weird because I haven't holstered this. I haven't carried it at all, but I'm definitely noticing just a couple of marks here and there, but whatever. It's a gun. But nonetheless, the gray looks pretty good. It's pretty sharp. The decockers are very usable. They're a bit sharp. I would say this is probably the sharpest things on this firearm are the actual, recessed decocking levers. And, it takes a little bit to get used to them. But once you do, they're fairly easy to manipulate. So there really isn't a big problem. Even with my big thumbs, I'm seeing that it's a little bit of a harder of an issue. So I actually have to use my index finger in order to decock that. So just keep that in mind. It may be just me. Maybe this will break in with some time, but they are a little bit resistant to some pressure there. Yeah, just control-wise, everything is very easy. The slide locked back every single time. I didn't really worry about engaging the slide lock here. Every single time as I rode the slide and kind of shot the gun, the thing would lock back with no problems. So that's a good thing. So this is manageable for anybody, but at the same time, it doesn't get in your way and prevent this from locking back when you're empty on a mag. Magazines work great, no problem. They went in, went out, no issues with that. The magazine release is fantastic, no issues with that either. In regards to the grip, when I was shooting it, my hands weren't super sweaty. They weren't covered in blood or oil, so I didn't have any issues with my hands slipping. I would definitely say this is probably the biggest downside of the PX4 as a whole, and that's just the lack of texturing. Again, you can do things with that. You can stipple it. You can put the Talon grips that came with this. However, I have not done that, and I'll explain why in a second. But, nonetheless, I didn't have any problems with any slippage going on in regards to handling the firearm while I was shooting it. You know, the one thing I did notice is that this little lanyard loop at the back here, this thing kept popping down while I was shooting it, which is, you know, is that a big deal? Not really, but it's kind of a pain in the ass because who wants that? But nonetheless, that's something I did find with the firearm. One of the biggest things that I have to say that I may not have never really understood, or maybe never really thought about too carefully, was just the lack of a recoiling sensation in this firearm. Now, obviously, keep in mind, it's a smaller gun. It's barely a 3 point something inch barrel, so it's not a very long barrel. But at the same time, this gun felt like it was being shot as a bigger gun, heavier gun, longer slide, that type of stuff. So I didn't really notice any real major recoil problems. Could that be just from the way the gun is constructed with the rotating barrel? Sure, maybe. And I think that does have something to do with it. But I also think just having a good trigger pull, a nice smooth trigger pull on this thing also helps that factor as well. So let's talk about the trigger. So the trigger is excellent. It's going to be very difficult to think that this trigger can get any better. One of the reasons why I did not put the Talon grips on is because I did order a Langdon Tactical upgraded trigger bar for this thing, and then also the silicone spring. So once that comes in, I'm going to make sure that goes in, see if it actually improves anything. But right now, the double action on this was pulling consistently just slightly over 7 pounds, and then the single action was consistently being pulled over 3 pounds. So, I mean, the trigger on this out of the box is just really good. The hammer is very reactive. The trigger is very, very smooth, very, very icy-like when that initial trigger pull comes, and the break is very clear and very crisp. The reset is very short. There's a little bit of over travel, but hopefully with that trigger bar, that'll eliminate that quite a bit, so that this reset even gets better. So I look forward to seeing if that's the case, but I really do believe that it will improve this gun to be even better than what it is. Now, let's talk about some things that I don't necessarily care for. So it isn't much, but one of the things that I did notice was that this roll pin right here, that kind of keeps the entire trigger mechanism in there, this roll pin keeps moving, and it keeps shifting from right to left. Now, is it popping all the way out? No, obviously not. But it is enough to be able to feel that pin where you can actually just push it back in. So that's something that I'm a little concerned about. But again, we'll see how that plays out with time. Again, eventually I may just put the Talon grips on here anyway, which will hold it in place. But at the same time, that's the only real big concerning issue I saw, was just this pin sliding out a little bit. The other major thing that I probably would say I hate about this gun is the shape of the hook on this trigger. Interestingly enough, you know, the shape of this hook is very drastic. I think that's, I've got to say that. Now, one of the other things I don't like is the fact that it sits very far forward into the trigger guard here. So when you're going to put your finger on there, my finger, for whatever reason, wants to go to the lower portion of this hook because it just feels more comfortable when I'm pulling that trigger. And honestly, that's leading to some trigger control problems for me. I actually have to get used to putting it a little bit higher up. But what I did notice when I did that is that my finger is actually rubbing up on the top side of this. I just think this hook is a little bit too small. And I would say that's the biggest thing I hate about this gun, is just the actual shape of that trigger. Now, of course, one of the things I'll show you really quick is I wish somebody would actually put something like this out. This is my 92X Compact, and what you can see here is this is the actual competition trigger, or the performance trigger from Beretta that I threw on here. And it makes a huge difference on the feel of the actual trigger. So you don't have that drastic curve, and instead of your finger wanting to travel to the bottom of it, your finger actually goes automatically right to the center of it, and it just fits perfectly right there because it's just giving you a little bit more space to operate that trigger. So if there was one thing that I could change, and the most important thing would be that trigger shape. So maybe Ernest Langdon will watch this video. Doubt it. But if he does, maybe he'll put something in there in regards to creating a better trigger for this gun, or at least a better trigger shoe. Other than that, the gun is really just, honestly, it's flawless, guys. It handled 124 grain, no problem, 115 grain. I actually shot better with 124 grain. And I've got to say, it just shot really well. Although I shot it like shit, I've got to say it definitely shot, or could have been shot, better than what I was doing for today. But it's been a while. No excuses. I'll get back out there because I do plan on putting this in carry rotation. This is just a really, really good, solid built gun. Now, the question again would also have to be asked, Do you guys want to buy this PX4 compact carry? Is it really worth it? You know, to be honest with you guys, there are some people who are going to detract from the looks of this handgun, saying it's too top heavy, it's too big, too bulky, clunky, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I shot my P225A1 next to this gun today. You want to talk about a top heavy gun? This bad boy is as top heavy as you get. You can tell the difference on how high this slide is riding on your hand compared to this PX4. It is night and day. And it may not look that way, but you can just see just how much space from the tang of my hand all the way up to that slide is versus the PX4. I mean, it's just night and day. It's a lot less. And I think that definitely helps with the felt recoil of the firearm as a whole. I mean, overall, you know, you can find these probably around $700 right now. Anywhere from $700 to $900 is what I've been seeing them online for. Could you buy a PX4 compact for cheaper? Yeah, you probably could, but just keep in mind, you're not going to get all of the upgrades that you would in a compact carry. You know, for all the upgrades, the only thing I'm doing with this gun right now is putting in that Langdon tactical trigger bar just to see if it cleans up the single action and that double action just a little bit more. And then I'll put a new hammer spring in here just to see if it brings it down. It's going to be an 11-pound hammer spring. So we'll see how that plays out. But I mean, you know, do I think this is worth the investment of money? Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I really do think it is. At the same time, I also wouldn't look past this one either, because this was a great buy and I got it used, and this thing is pretty sweet. The trigger on this is fantastic, but we'll talk about that another time. So what I'd ask for you guys to do down below is leave some comments down there. Let me know what you think about the PX4 as a whole, and if you have experience with compact carry, let me know what you think about it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to see some people saying it's ugly as hell, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to see people who say they absolutely love this gun, because there is kind of that cult following with these types of firearms as well. So leave those comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm back. We'll see if we can get this channel to keep growing. And again, I hope you guys have a great night. Stay safe. And as always, freedom is never free.